Everyone, go ahead and call the meeting to order.
That's definitely.
We can go ahead, we're gonna call the Emergency Services Council meeting for July 30th, 2026. To order at this time. Go ahead, please, have roll call.
Town of Atherton.
Yep, here, Whitmer.
City of Belmont. Present. City of Brisbane.
Here.
City of Burlingame.
Andrew Papa John here.
Town of Colma.
Here.
City of Daly City.
Glenn Sylvester, present.
Thank you. City of East Palo Alto. City of Foster City.
Susie Niederhofer present.
Half Moon Bay.
Patrick Johnson, present.
Town of Hillsborough.
Maureen Drum present.
City of Menlo Park. In the city of Millbrae, Stephen Ali, present. City of Pacifica.
Greg, present.
Oh, I'm here, Greg.
Okay. Then I will excuse
Okay.
myself and go to bike.
Well, I mean, go ahead. I mean, I'm sorry, we didn't talk about this. I was here under just cause, but I can comment as a member of the public.
Go to bike ped, so. Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Good seeing you, very much.
Out of Portola Valley.
Mary Huffey, present.
Redwood City.
Diane Howard, present.
San Bruno.
Rico Medina, present.
San Carlos.
John Dugan here.
San Mateo. South of San Francisco.
Eddie Forrest, present.
Town of Woodside, Paul Golden, present. And County of San Mateo.
Here. Do we need to have just cause stand for the record? So let's go ahead and do that now. Christine, if you want to go ahead and state.
Yeah, I'm participating under just cause for elder care tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to item 2, public comments, correspondence, and announcements. We need to vote. Oh, we need to vote on what?
We need to vote for N.
Oh, we need to vote on the just cause. All right, can I have a motion to accept the just cause? Can I have a second? All right. We need to do roll.
Okay, so it's Maurice Long, and who was the second? Sorry, thank you.
Okay, can we just go ahead and take a voice vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and move on to public comments, correspondence, and announcement. Are there any? No. Okay. We'll move on to action to set the agenda and approve the April 30th, 2026 meeting minutes.
So
Second.
Okay. We'll go move to a vote. Roll call vote.
the roll call vote, okay, Atherton.
Yes.
Belmont. Aye. Brisbane.
Yes.
Burlingame.
Yes.
Colma.
Aye.
Daly City.
Aye.
Foster City.
Aye.
Half Moon Bay.
Yeah.
Aye. Hillsborough.
Yes.
Millbrae. Yes. Pacifica remotely.
Yes.
Portola Valley.
Yes.
Redwood City.
Yes.
San Bruno.
Yes.
San Carlos.
Yes.
South San Francisco.
Yes.
Woodside.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to item 4, wildfire season outlook and countywide mitigation efforts. We have presentations here today from California Fire Safety Council, County Coordinator, overview of CAL FIRE presentation, San Mateo County Resource Conservation District presentation, a Mid-Peninsula Region Open Space presentation, a San Francisco Public Utilities Commission presentation, a Caltrans presentation, and a Pacific Gas and Electric presentation. With that, I'll go and turn it over to Trudy.
Thank you, Chair. So any one of these presentations could have taken this entire time. We did a lot of community assessments and learned that wildfire is one of the top risks that they consider as a risk to themselves. And we see that with also what's happening in the Pacific Northwest, what's happening in Canada right now. And the work that our incredible multi-jurisdictional, interjurisdictional partners do is quite fabulous. So what we have asked is we've asked key folks to come here that are just showcasing what they're doing, but they're really sharing on behalf of other partners. And there's so many other partners. In each one of your cities and towns, you have a fire department or district that does a lot of this mitigation work as well. You have fire safe councils, you have other entities, even nonprofit groups or community groups that have chipper programs. And so we do a lot of this work collectively. And so we're grateful for the panel here today. This was hard to do for us to put together because usually don't have a panel discussion with a Brown Act meeting. So what we've asked the panel to do is we'll start with Chief Wilson here, who will set the stage for us. And then we have all of these panelists who will spend 2 minutes sharing what they're really doing. And, you know, some of them are doing so much work that they've fitted everything into that little slide, they got one slide. And so they get 2 minutes to kind of do that really overall presentation. And then what we'll do is we have little questions to ask them. And then if time permitting, we all invite you to ask questions to them. So I will pass it on to Chief Wilson.
Good evening, everybody. Jed Wilson. I'm the unit chief for San Mateo, Santa Cruz, and also the San Mateo County Fire Chief along with Coastside Fire Protection District as contracts. I spoke a couple months ago at Coast Council. I grew up in a small town in Mariposa, just outside Yosemite. So growing up, I think we evacuated 5 separate times during my childhood. So I take evacuation kind of extremely seriously, having lived it multiple times. So I'll talk maybe some real life experiences as I go through the slide presentation, but just making sure that your cities, your communities that you are part of understand that evacuation is real on the coast. And in the Bay Area, we don't do it very often, so we're not well trained. All the fire chiefs, we've given direction to the training group here in San Mateo County to start holding localized tabletop evacuation exercises with our law partners. And then we're going to move those to large scale exercises just so that we are practicing evacuation. So when the time does come, because it will come, that we're ready and prepared. So the outlook for California, July is still remaining pretty dry. We're going to go into another heat up here in the next week and then maybe another cool off. As you can see here, the predictive services map showing that Oregon and Washington are in the red, which they currently are. I think we have 1.5 million acres burning in Oregon, with about 500,000 burning in Washington. We deployed a CAL FIRE incident management team to Washington yesterday under the Western Compact Act to help the state of Washington mitigate some of those challenges. And we have multiple operational resources, CAL FIRE resources in Oregon right now, helping them out as well. The Bay Area here, us specifically, does not look like we're going to have any extremes, but that doesn't mean we can't get any offshore weather events that might be a 1 or 2 day pattern that could cause significant challenges for us. So we still need to maintain our situational awareness. But how do I play the video? Sure,
You got it.
All right.
Our San Mateo, Santa Cruz unit. I'm also responsible for the Glenwood Fire Center located in La Honda, California. This facility is nestled in the beautiful redwoods of the Santa Cruz Mountains in San Mateo County. We moved into this facility in 2025. The aging building had many structural deficiencies we had to overcome. Established in response to the destructive wildfires like the 2020 CZU August lightning complex, this center serves as a critical operational hub designated to strengthen our region's specialized wildfire response and proactive forest management. As the first dedicated hand crew station in San Mateo County, we house more than 100 personnel staff 7 days a week. Born from a strong partnership between CAL FIRE and San Mateo County, this center represents our shared commitment to protecting lives, preserving our forests, and serving our community. While fire engines use water to remove heat, our specialized hand crews remove the fuel. Using hand tools, they construct fire lines and clear vegetation in rugged, steep terrain that traditional fire engines cannot reach. To maintain peak readiness, our teams undergo demanding daily physical training and extensive hikes varying up to 60 pounds a year. As an all-risk department, we train daily to ensure we are preparing to respond at a moment's notice. Our firefighters are completely self-sufficient. It's important that they have the proper caloric intake to expel the energy they need to accomplish their mission. They are currently cooking 1,000 meals a week, including 2 hot meals a day. Each crew member prepares their own sack lunch so that they can have it ready when they are assigned to emergency incidents, prescribed fires, and fuel reduction work. They're also responsible for maintaining their chainsaws, hand tools, facility, and equipment. We are proud to stand with the community and protect the California we all love. From the redwoods to the coast, our crews are fully staffed, trained, and ready to answer the call.
So that was a little video on our Glenwood Fire Center. So within partnership, CAL FIRE has leased the log cabin property, log cabin ranch out in La Honda. We have 2 type 1 hand crews that are certified, staffed daily out there, which is great. One for operational suppression, but also the fact that they do fuel reduction work when they're not on a fire. So they're not doing operational firework. They're doing fuel reduction in San Mateo County. Historically, those crews would come from Ben Lomond, our CDCR facility in Santa Cruz. It's a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. They get there at 11. They work for a few hours. They have to be checked back in. So the time frame that they're able to do work was really minimized. It's going to help us force multiply doing additional fuel work in San Mateo County. So we're super excited about that. And they've been there since they opened in October of last year. And on your in front of you, you should have an invite for our open house we're going to be doing in October. We hope everybody can come out there. By then, we feel we'll have a facility up to at least being able to show all the great work that's being done out at our facility. Some other items that CAL FIRE has done to improve is we've updated our helicopter fleet to S70i Firehawks. So those carry, we used to carry Bambi buckets, a little orange bucket, 324 gallons approximately. We now have our Firehawks that have 1,000 gallons. And our Alma ship and Hollister ship, which would respond here, is night flying capable. So we can fly at night and do night operations if the ship accepts that mission. We took on some C-130 aircraft, 7 of them. We have 4 of those now, I believe, that are in full operation. And they carry 4,000 gallons of retardant. And they have been making a great operational difference for us across the state. And then something that's pretty exciting is, used to hear fire season term, right? Well, it's the fire year now. And CAL FIRE, we've moved, we're gonna have 7 full-time staffed CAL FIRE engines year-round in the San Mateo Santa Cruz unit. And 2 of those at a minimum are gonna be staffed in San Mateo County. So we're excited about that. We've moved our firefighter 1, which is our seasonal employment classification, to firefighter 2 full-time classification. So we'll have full-time staff on those engines and they'll be here year-round, where historically those would be down-staffed when we got 2 inches of rain roughly, and then we come back later in the year. So That's a pretty exciting change for us. We appreciate the current leadership in Sacramento allowing that to happen in the legislation. Let's see, fuel reduction. So I was asked how much fuel reduction work we've done in San Mateo specifically. When you think of an acre, I just would say it's a football field, a rough estimate. So since 2024, we've done about 115 acres of treatment. That's CAL FIRE specifically, not our grant dollars that we've invested in doing through our partners here that are sitting at the table, doing work. So we've done about 18 or 87 football fields. In the last year with Glenwood being in place, we've already done 30 additional acres. So we're going to be doing force multiplier there with those crews. Prescribed fire, we continue to do prescribed fire. I know that for some folks concerning, there's a lot of new studies that come out in the last couple of weeks showing that prescribed fire is much more beneficial than uncontrolled wildfire smoke, because those wildfires get larger and you can do it in more controlled sections. Since 2024, we've done about 500 acres here in San Mateo County. We started at Sheep Camp, Jonathan, was that 3 years ago?
Going on 4 now.
4 now, and that was kind of breaking the San Mateo seal that we've had for many years. And then we were able to do Pomponio, some big burns out on the coast. And we're continuing to do that. I have a goal of 500 acres for the unit at a minimum, and then 750, 1,000, we'll keep growing from there. We're not in the situation where my partners need to hand the land. They can go out and burn 10,000 acres of grass. In the flatlands, we don't have 10,000 acres of grass. So I always look at it as our biomass reduction, not necessarily our acres. We're reducing a lot of biomass when we burn here in Santa Cruz or San Mateo counties due to our fuels. And then CAL FIRE continues to implement grants. And we did in San Mateo specifically about 2,200 acres of grant dollar mitigation. So as you can see, CAL FIRE specifically, we only did 115, but through our partners enabling me to leverage them, we've done a lot more. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Timothy Federal. I am the Senior Program Manager for Forest Health and Fire at the San Mateo Resource Conservation District. We are a special district. So we are a public agency under Public Resources Code, and we're separate from county government or city government. And our mission statement is really helping people help the land. So we have a lot of different programs focused on resource conservation, but I manage as I mentioned, our forest health and fire program. And Chief Wilson set me up really well with the grant dollars because we are largely funded by grants. And we've gotten about $2.8 million from San Mateo County government since 2019, and we've been able to leverage that into $25 million in grant funds. About 18 million of that is from CAL FIRE. So those grant funded acres that Chief Wilson was talking about, we've implemented about 2,000 of those 2,200, or either have been done or in progress. That not all of those are for CAL FIRE grant dollars. So overall, we've implemented about 2,000 acres of fuel reduction or have in progress. This map here shows a little bit of what we work on. So the green or teal polygons are CAL FIRE funded projects or CAL FIRE completed projects. And the pink areas are projects that the RCD has managed in San Mateo County. There's some overlap, especially here in Butte State Park, Pescara Creek. And the red dots that are kind of throughout that map are future plan projects that are included in the Santa Cruz Mountains Regional Priority Plan, which is a plan that we led the development of with the RCD of Santa Cruz County and the Santa Cruz Mountain Stewardship Network to really create a clearinghouse of wildfire resiliency projects across the region. There's about 138 projects included in that plan, about half of which are in San Mateo County. And the goal of that plan is to get neighbors talking to neighbors, get land managers talking to other land managers, connect those projects across the landscape to create some landscape scale resilience, and then also position those dollars for for those projects $4 from Prop 4. And I think what's unique about the RCD is that we work in partnership. We don't own any land ourselves. So we work where we're invited. So our goal is to really connect the dots from one landowner to another. We work with MidCam, we work with SFUC, we work with CAL FIRE, we work with Caltrans. We work with a whole bunch of different partners across the county to get work on the ground and get it completed and get it funded. And that's what we do. Thanks for the time.
Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, I'm Brian Malone, Assistant General Manager. And we have preserved 72,000 acres or 73,000 acres since we were formed in 1972. I want to focus on a few things you might not know about what have been doing about fire management for a long time, and then how we've taken this step to the next level. We actually manage 36,000 acres in San Mateo County alone. You probably wouldn't realize it, but we actually manage 150 miles of fire and emergency access roads within the county. And then we have over 100 structures. We have 9,500 acres of grazing pasture on the coast. But managing that, doing structure protection, maintaining regional fire breaks that we've had for years and years, that's always been part of our portfolio. And I think keeping those roads open and that access has been an essential part. Like the CVU fire, we actually had 4 fire starts on district lands that we were able to access all of them with CAL FIRE and put them out before they got bigger. But after the CVU fire, our staff actually participated on Old Hall Road, holding the fire from going up the hill because CAL FIRE asked us to when they were working at the head of the fire going into Santa Cruz. And we realized we needed to up our game. So we started our wildland fire resiliency program. Last year, we treated 676 acres of fuel management. And we realized for us, we're a land management agency, so we have to maintain that in perpetuity. So I actually worked over the last 5 years to build 2 resource management crews that do the work in-house and do it environmentally sensitively. Partnerships have been crucial to all this work that we do. We can do, and we expand on those crews. That's about $1.5 million a year. That's focused on resource management and fuel management work. But we have been dependent and benefited from CAL FIRE funding and California Coastal Conservancy funding to the tune of about $6 million in those last 5 years to complete a lot of the work that we've done. In total, in the last 5 years, we've treated 1,540 acres, and that's been growing every year up to the 676 acres, so that will grow over time. And the maintenance of that becomes bigger and bigger. All kinds of projects. I brought some project boards to show you some of the projects that we're working on. Very interested as CAL FIRE has talked. We're partnering with them and discussing upcoming places that we can do prescribed fire in San Mateo County. So lots of opportunities, lots of partnerships, a lot of work to do, but we've really upped our game to take on that challenge. Who's next? Oh, we're in order, that makes sense.
Okay. My name is Jonathan Parent. I'm land manager for the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission for the Peninsula Watershed. With 2 minutes, I thought I'd take this time to just paint a picture. So imagine yourself standing at a corner of a fence line. You're standing on San Francisco lands in San Mateo County in SRA, which is state responsibility area of CAL FIRE, which is a responding agency. Above you, you have a PG&E transmission line. Behind you, San Mateo County Parks easement. Across the way, Caltrans right of way. Over the fence could be Woodside, could be Hillsborough, could be San Carlos. Over the other fence could be GGNRA, could be Peninsula Open Space, San Mateo County Parks. to us, these are all property boundaries. They're areas of jurisdiction. For wildfire, none of that exists. So when we prioritize our work, the first question we ask is, who needs to be at the table? So every year we work with local agencies, fire agencies, local governments, communities, private landowners, to get in, and make sure that we're prioritizing the work we do in areas that cross jurisdiction. So with this short amount of time, we can come up with a long list of how we're doing fuel reduction work in San Mateo County. But instead of giving numbers of acres, what we do every year is collaborate with our partners to make sure that those acres we treat cross multiple jurisdictions. And it's those partnerships and collaboration that we focus on and prioritize every year. Thank you.
Kennedy, I'm here representing the vegetation management program from Caltrans District 4. That covers all 9 area counties. So our program started as just part of our field maintenance team. Our crews historically have always maintained 4 to 10 feet along the side of the road for visual sight lines and safety, but also for to reduce the risk of fire spread from ignitions on the highway. In addition, we have always had our hazard tree service contracts and tree crews. And since 2020, we've increased our budget to have fuels reduction. But we're now calling our vegetation management program. But the goal is to we have an in-house crew that can supplement our regular fuel maintenance. Doing work in the vegetation management strip, that 4 to 10 foot strip in areas that overlap with high fire severity zones. And then in addition, we have 2-year service contracts so that we can do more work outside of that 10 foot management strip, creating shaded field breaks and just taking care of more early. So the thing I also want to kind of touch on and what I'm most excited about is just the external relationships that we're starting to build, and we're trying to increase our outreach in developing our vegetation management program plan. Again, as highways, they pass through all communities and different types of land, and we have to be good collaborators and see where alignment is happening and try to amplify the work of others. And also because we have so much land, prioritize where we can work. So happy to be here today to already we've been working a lot with partners in San Mateo County and our map. The main thing I wanted to point out is that for planning purposes, our service contracts are a 2-year cycle. So upcoming, the main project we have is on San Mateo 1, just south of Pacifica, and that partnership is where we're kind of amplifying work and collaboration with San Mateo Research Conservation District. And then we have other partnerships with CAL FIRE, PCU, Interstate 280, where we're hoping to leverage some of our traffic control, environmental certifications in exchange for their sponsorship of Beaver and work on our right of way. So we have some upcoming projects on 280, and then the dash lines indicate priority routes that we are planning for the future. So that would be in 2 years, our next service contract. So really looking at E4, 35, and some more refund to me. So anyways, and then I guess, within the last 5 years, we started reporting. We're part of the statewide wildfire task force, so we're trying to work on our reporting and collection of asset management. And since between 2020 and 2025, which is when we've been collecting the information, we've controlled 1,220 acres annually, so that's every year. We've removed 2,049 hazard trees and pruned 3,327 trees. And moving forward, we have a lot of work planned. I had to keep the momentum going. Thank you. Hi, I'm Sashi Sabaratnam. I'm Chief of Wildfire and Climate Resiliency for PG&E. I'm excited to be here with you all today. So just wanted to share, this is our Montero Mountain Emergency Access Project. We just wanted to share this one as an example of collaboration between us and CAL FIRE and I think it was the County of San Mateo you can see the before and after picture of the road there. It was an access road that public safety partners really needed during the emergency. It was really a great opportunity to collaborate with our local partners here in San Mateo County. Here in San Mateo County, in the last year, we have undergrounded 8 miles of power lines. We've installed 3 miles of strengthened poles and covered power lines, and we are planning to install 5 additional miles before the end of 2026. We have trimmed or removed 36,932 trees that were too close to power lines. We're going to be inspecting 1,739 miles of vegetation this year to maintain safety around our lines. So in PG&E, we talk a lot about our hometowns. And we've got, I've got 3 of my colleagues here too, whom I think are our San Mateo hometown heroes here. So we at PG&E, we live here where we work. We have a lot of passion for the area, the areas that we live in, and want to contribute to providing you safe, reliable, affordable power. And working with partners like you and like the folks here at this table is really how we like to do that. So thank you for the opportunity to chat with you today.
Can we have a round of applause for that?
Not done yet. We have questions for you. So let's start with the first question, and this question is for SMPUC and Mid-Penn. You all talked really about partnerships and why partnerships were important before, during, and after an emergency. Tell us how or why do partnerships really matter, and how are they built, given the work you do here in San Mateo County?
I guess I'll start. I mean, one, we are on a regional landscape. We tend to think of our ecosystem as the Santa Cruz Mountains that extends all the way up to San Francisco. And people that live in the mountains tend to think of the forest as a threat when it becomes fire season. I know because I get the calls as soon as the first smoke column goes up. People are asking what we're doing. So one agency doing work on their own land is not enough. And we all bring different strengths. SFPUC and Mid-Penn are landowners. But the Resource Conservation District brings that coordination and being able to concentrate and power on particular projects. CAL FIRE as a state agency brings funding to the picture, as well as CAL FIRE for implementing prescribed fire is the essential expert to be able to do that. And I truly believe that that's going to be a critical part of how we move forward. Also, I haven't talked about labor. San Jose Conservation Corps has been fantastic with us for bringing people into conservation work and getting work done at the same time. I'd love to see something similar. The San Jose Conservation Corps comes out to projects in San Mateo County, but I'd love to see something similar in San Mateo County. But yeah, and then just the fire safe councils. have been an incredible locus for coordination, putting together grants, to do that sort of stuff. There's San Mateo, Fire Safe. I have also worked with South Skyline Fire Safe, like a small community group that just got together, and they work in 3 different counties. It's just incredible how much interest there is, but how much dedication and interest in working on it.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. What I like to say is, we don't want to wait for an emergency to build trust and to build those partnerships. Every year we coordinate with local agencies, state agencies, property owners, different jurisdictions to do fuel reduction work, to train with, to give tours on the property, to pick up the phone and offer expertise and ask for expertise. We get together and we talk about how to communicate with our communities. It's those types of events that develop trust, and that trust has paid off tenfold. CZU is a great event not a great event, but a opportunity to highlight. We did a fuel reduction project with CAL FIRE the week before. The VC on that project worked with our rangers to facilitate the work. When the event happened, that VC picked up the phone at 1 a.m. They called that ranger and said, "Hey, this is going off. There's lightning strikes all over your property. We're being sent out. It would be great if you got up and you started checking these out." She put on her boots, called staff. They came in. She got to the ridge line. Ridge was on fire. Small fire. They started to put it out. They dealt with 9 other strikes during that event. That trust was not built in that emergency. That trust was developed. Those relationships were developed throughout the year. Every year we offer a luncheon in the beginning of the year to get together with all of our agencies, partner agencies, to talk through and just get together and meet each other if there's transitions or in roles.
A delicious lunch.
Thank you very much. This is our priority, because in the end, that phone call is priceless. Those relationships are priceless. The advice I've gotten from my other partners has helped me through so many projects and implementation. So, like I said, it's not built in the emergency. It's built through our collaboration and partnerships.
And the only other thing I'll add is that the Santa Cruz Mountain Stewardship Network is a group of land management or agencies or groups that have management responsibilities in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and includes timber companies as well. And that has been an incredible place to coordinate and really led to the RCD's work on this map of all the work that needs to be done in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Thank you so much. So during events or during mitigation work, things don't go as planned oftentimes, whether that's during an emergency or a planned prescribed burn, or you decided, some kind of work. So I think we're looking for our PG&E and Caltrans to really share a story when things didn't go the way in plan. And what did you do, and how did you change plans?
I guess I'll start. I'm relatively new in this position, and my predecessor did a great job, setting up, like I said, part of our program is about looking for external partners to amplify our work, as well as trade services to get more work done. And I was really excited. We had a whole bunch of possibilities of partners to work with, and the encroachment permits were submitted, and exciting times. But then during the review process, discovered that a lot of our visual policies conflict with the goals of the vegetation management program, specifically the California Scenic Highways. And we also have classified landscape freeways, which are state highway planting that's planted for aesthetics and the purposes of controlling outdoor advertisement like billboards. And so there was real concern from our, as when someone applies for an encroachment permit, it goes through a review process where various functional units review the project. And the constant roadblock, I'm a landscape architect, so, and I come from landscape architecture design at Caltrans, and that my old department is the roadblocks because they just can't. I think a lot of these projects, they're prescription based, there's no plans. So it's all about what the work is going to do, and it's removed, you know, and taking out. So it's really hard for people to get past that something's going to be missing, and it will be a visual impact in this case. So one of the things I've been working with and is doing a few things. I want to make it easier for external partners to get through that process, and in the process, work on internal partnerships with the design office. And a lot of that has to do with kind of changing the narrative, you know, instead of focusing on what's coming out, like what's staying, like what do you see when it's done? And since we do maintenance all the time on our roadways, that's like what we do, we're stewards of our land. But the vegetation management projects, a lot of our maintenance is deferred maintenance because we don't have a lot of kids in the Bay Area, like people, laborers who do that kind of work don't get paid very much, and so they can't live in the community, and you know, to travel to the locations, just we don't have a lot of staff to do the work. And so as a result, you know, there's a lot of overgrown vegetation that needs to be managed. And anyways, coming up with strategies for just getting everyone on board and coming up with like graphics, manuals. We have design manual guidelines for work on Highway 1 to set expectations with other regulatory agencies. So doing something similar so that when outside agency applies for a permit, we can have boilerplate BIA language that they can insert and graphic details that show like what work is left or what types of plant material is left after the project's complete. So anyways, it's been exciting to work through those challenges, and I'm hoping within the next year, you know, make it a little bit easier for you.
I shout out to Teresa, and
Yeah.
some of her first two projects have been with the RCD
Yeah.
and on SMC, and you have been really instrumental at like getting us to be able to do work in those priority areas. So
Yeah, so we really value these partnerships, you know, and it's exciting to have, you know, it's hard for us. We have our state funding, but we really rely on, we don't have grant writers, at least in our district right now. And so, you know, we're looking for, we can offer our, like I said, environmental certification. We have, you know, sometimes we can offer assistance with traffic control, and then also just help with the project development.
Well, I can also attest to Teresa being super helpful, as we have through the California Wildfire Forces Zone Task Force done a lot of partnership with Caltrans on, you know, we both have linear assets that need to be managed, and have had a lot of fun conversations with Teresa now in her new role, and very excited for that. But I will go back to the question. So a few years ago, I was in, you know, kind of one of your chairs here as a council member in Mill Valley, over there with my colleague Jim Wickham, who is your public safety specialist. And I had talked to our county fire chief, who was saying, you know, there's so many times, he's like, last week we were doing work on one side of the road and PG&E was literally on the other side of the road, and we're not coordinating. What's going on with that? Like, why is this happening? So I put together a vegetation management coordination committee, and you know, with some great tensions there, and we had all the local government on one side, and then we, you know, met with PG&E, and you know, we had one meeting, and then we had two meetings, and then we had three meetings. We just kept growing the number of people, and we never really kind of got that off the ground. So it did not go as planned. But what happened after that was PG&E leadership really looked at that and said, you know, one of our executives said, there's kind of a hole in how we do business here. Like, we're not really connecting our work with what local government's doing, what state agencies are doing, you know, what the other people in the kind of partners in the wildfire space are doing. So, eventually, over, you know, conversations over a couple of years, they decided to create a position to do that, and that is my position here. So I've now been with the company 2.5 years, and doing, you know, this kind of work, you know, coming in and talking to you today is part of that. Working with Teresa, working with some of the folks here, on coordination, of our work with theirs. Right now, I'm doing a lot of the coordinating with CAL FIRE unit plans. So something that didn't go as planned, and you know, the good intentions there actually turned into a new role at PG&E, and really a commitment for PG&E's leadership to be really more of a connected partner in this project.
Thank you so much. So our next set of questions is for CAL FIRE and RCD. What is the one thing you'd like to share with this council?
I think for me, the one thing to share, which has a little bit of like 7 bullet points underneath of it, is educating the public. So we're not immune to wildfire here. We had the 2020 CZU lightning complex that was 6 years ago, and we soon forget that was only 6 years ago. So ready, set, go is kind of one of those things you'll hear from CAL FIRE. So if someone sees a fire and they need to go early, everyone should have SMC alerts. Have a go bag ready. That was something, my mom had this plastic box next to the front door in Mariposa growing up that was there during fire season. And that box was like the Wilson's whole life, but that box was ready to go. So it had, you know, deeds, all those things, all the titles to my dad's car, which I'll talk about. Access and egress, take one vehicle when you're evacuating. Even if you have a nice plastic car in your garage, you have a more reliable, newer vehicle, just take one, because if everybody takes a car, you force multiply and plug the roads up more. So reducing that is very helpful. Make sure people have proper addressing on their homes. Even in, you know, tighter, small communities, addresses are very important. Home hardening defensible space. Everyone always asks, when's the best time to do defensible space? I always tell them it was yesterday, because we need to be prepared. So ready, set, go, and educating your public on all these things is what CAL FIRE would do.
And yeah, I would just add, speaking for the RCD, you know, we're often referred to as like the Swiss Army knife of resource conservation or wildfire mitigation, and we're here to help. We're here to help residents, help jurisdictions, help cities, organizations meet their goals when it comes to wildfire resilience and a whole host of other natural resource related concerns. So, you know, feel free to reach out to us. We would be happy to work with any of you. And I think going back a little bit to the partnership piece, you know, we are a grant funding organization. And a lot of times when you're funded by grants, you're worried about your metrics, right? Your acres treated, or this, you know, measuring your progress in this way or another. And there's a lot of things related to partnership that are really hard to measure in like discrete terms and report on a grant, but that are force multipliers in the work that we do. And building those relationships is often something that results in, it's like an investment that pays back many-fold, but is not necessarily a grant deliverable sometimes. So I would just say that type of work is equally as important as acres on the ground when it comes to wildfires and climate change and all sorts of threats that we face, and as we work to achieve landscape scale resilience.
Thank you so much, Chair. Back to you. We have a couple of minutes for questions.
And do we have any questions from my colleagues? Yes.
All right, thank you for the presentation. The Camp Glenwood, is that, I'm sorry if I didn't catch that, but is it a place for people to learn how to be firefighters, or is this an actual station where these people are there all the time?
Yeah, so Glenwood Fire Center is fully staffed It's staffed with 2 crews 9 months out of the year, so from March 15th to December 15th, we have 2 fire crews staffed daily. And we have 100+ personnel assigned. And then there's a 3-month period, which we consider now our base period of the fire year, where we don't have fire crews. I've requested to staff a single crew through the winter, so we can do more fuel reduction, but they're fully trained and crew qualified firefighter ones for CAL FIRE.
And this crews, how big are the crews?
The crews have 16 people on each one of them daily. That's the minimum staffing, a captain and an engineer as well.
All right, and is it difficult to get recruits to be part of those crews?
No, it's CAL FIRE 1C course and the 1B course, which we as CAL FIRE CZU offer multiple times throughout the year through adult education, both in Santa Cruz County. But they've opened it up to San Mateo County education office as well to get those folks that are over 18 that are still trying to maybe find a career path. Maybe had some challenges that were younger.
Yeah, that's
get
what I'm
into
getting
that.
at,
Yep.
you know, to see if we can get this energy.
And if there's folks in here that have ideas on, maybe there's certain people in the community you feel would be a good fit, we're open to do pilot projects and hold courses as we can to train people up.
Okay, and then I have a question, I don't know if it's pertinent to this, Chair, but, San Bernardino Mountain, it would be okay to ask a question about San Bernardino Mountain County Park. Is that cool? So, so San Bernardino Mountain is, completely surrounded by urbanization. You got Colma, South City, Daly City, and Brisbane nestled into the mountain. But over the years, we haven't had any prescribed burns, and the vegetation load keeps getting bigger and bigger. Not only with invasive like eucalyptus, but we also have the coastal scrub that's there. And so, how do we get something going on San Bernardino Mountain County Park?
I don't work for county parks, but I do work with them closely, and state parks, which also land on San Bernardino Mountain.
That's right, state county.
And I can say that there are 2 projects in our regional priority plan that are on San Bernardino Mountain that we're trying to tee up for funding. And so there is an effort being made to plan work in that exact area. I agree with you that it's a priority area for fuel reduction for sure.
Okay, yeah, maybe if there was, we could coordinate something with our cities and you all to, maybe we can provide some funding. So we can do that work, make it, a priority.
That's great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Very, very quickly for PG&E, on the map, you have a code there for circuits protected by enhanced power line safety settings. What are the enhanced power line safety settings? Is that better ground fault protection or what?
It's, we've also heard it as fast strip. So it, very quickly de-energizes the line, when you run. So, enabling EPSS allows the, lines to be de-energized, very quickly, to avoid, further problems down the line.
Okay, thank you.
Murray.
Thank you. It is really encouraging and wonderful to see that there are relationships among you all and then to be able to collaborate, because that was one thing that I was trying to understand as to how the frequency and how often that you guys work on this. There are many mentions regarding the treated land. And I just want to have a better understanding of what does that mean when you said treated? Is that fire prevention? Is that cutting down the trees, taking away the hazard materials, or what?
Yeah, so for Mid-Penn, what we're really looking at for the wildland fire resiliency program is fuel reduction, right? So in a forested area, that does not mean that you're removing all the vegetation. you're just removing a lot of the underbrush, although we're surveying for sensitive species and wood rat nests, which the state's just taken off of the species of concern, which will make our work a lot easier for all of us, I think, because there's a lot of wood rats. But so you clear it out, you limb up the trees, and then the re-entry is really important. There's a lot of invasive species that, whether you're just clearing brush like we did, say along Skyline in the Windy Hill area, we just, with San Mateo Fire Safe and us, we just cleared a lot of brush. And that just reduces the fuel load temporarily, but that brush is gonna regrow. But it's a danger point for the invasive species to come in. And so we're concerned about that for two reasons. One, because of the ecological functioning of the preserves or the wildlands. And you don't want invasives to take over and push out native species, but they're also typically much more flammable, like Scotch broom is something that takes over caltrans right away. So it's very important that that's a component of, and that's a big part for us. We also do a lot of restoration work. We're having our first timber harvest plan coming up in La Honda, where we're gonna go and thin the forest, to just try to grow old growth redwoods quicker. And then we have another project where we're gonna remove a planted acacia forest and then replant with native plants. So our motive is very much restoration at the same time as we're reducing the fuel load.
If I could just add briefly, the state of a lot of our forests since we started putting out fires, maybe 150 years ago. Now we've got kind of like a homogeneous structure to a lot of our forests where it's very dense understory. And the goal of our treatments, more or less, is to kind of break that up into more of a mosaic. So you've got separation both horizontally and vertically between that continuous vegetation, so that when a fire comes through, it does it in a more diverse pattern and is easier and safer to manage.
So sometimes you'll see like a patchwork, and I'll get a call from someone that says, why did you cut all that vegetation? And then a call from another person that says, why did you leave those patches? And that's what we're doing. We're trying to leave that mosaic.
So by treated, you just merely managed towards a variety of them.
But there's actual, but all those acres are actual physical acres of fuel management treatments.
Thank you.
Okay, Diane.
It's my first meeting, so I have a question that maybe already has the answer, but I'm so excited to hear about this coordination of effort, that you really are working with each other, and communicating with each other. I wanted to know, how do you weave in law enforcement, PD, sheriff's department and all? I mean, I'm sure that they do exist, but I'm not hearing that right now. So is that something that's woven into your plans of action? And that's my question. How do you weave in that other element, which is public safety of police, fire, and sheriff?
Yes, so I'll take that one. So on the operational side, when we have an active wildland incident, they're at the tailgate with our incident commander, and they're discussing evacuations and all those things. We do tabletop exercises, large scale exercises annually. So we partner with them closely. All of the city's jurisdictions also work with them, because CAL FIRE is not going to always be there. If it's a LRA fire, we might come in a mutual threat zone to assist. There was a fire last summer in Woodside. That was in Woodside's fire district, not in SRA, but we were there to help. So they're at the tailgate with their law enforcement partners, making those decisions, working with DPM. Are we going to do an SMC alert? Is Genesis going to be activated to do these type of evacuations? Where are these people going? And we're continually reevaluating. Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. I just want to say, I think my office has worked with all of your offices in the last 4 years, and I cannot express enough to you, and I want to underscore for all of you what a big increase we have seen with the detention during the 4 years I've been in office. Just Glenwood, I can't say it enough to you guys. That used to be an abandoned youth intervention facility. To have a CAL FIRE hand team stationed in our county is a huge increase in in fire prevention. PG&E, I remember in 2023, right after the storms, we were told by PG&E, we would not see undergrounding in our area, but except for last. And that changed over the course of 2 years. And I remember met with the CEO, Ms. Poppy at Filoli, and the increased attention we've seen since then. Every single one of these agencies, I can tell you, has done, and it has increased in coordination and the effort. Caltrans and all of it. I can just name projects that you all have responded to. And we're very grateful for it. So thank you for coming and presenting tonight to all of us. The work that you're doing is making a difference in the county. So with that, we're going to move on to go ahead to item 5, the hazmat program update.
Clear out, and then we'll move into the next section.
Wait,
So when we held our last meeting, we talked about the need to procure a new hazmat vehicle to support the county's hazmat response team. And there were some questions, and we were tasked with finding out some ways to procure that. We purchase it up front, maybe partial payments, maybe lease options. So I'm going to go over kind of what we learned first from that, and then I'll bring up the director for further discussion. But as we move into that, I just want to ground ourselves in a few things. The county has one hazmat team. Chief Thorne that is here, he's the one that runs that team. They have a very old truck, and so this is about replacing that. They are the only system that we have, and so having them in equipment that is up to date and usable is really important. I'm going to ground us in, it's reaching its end of life. These trucks are very expensive. A new one is around $2 million, and they take a while to build, around 47 months or pretty close to 4 years. And part of the impetus for doing this is that this price goes up every year. There's about a 10% increase or $200,000 that we're facing. And that's part of what's driving, along with the age of the equipment, of wanting to purchase this new equipment. I'll go back real quick. The other thing I want to mention is that I'll go over some numbers in our presentation. All of these numbers are estimates from research that we've done. No procurement process has been started. And so they may actually shift some, but we're trying to put that together. The other thing I want to ground us in is some of the funds that exist within the ESC. So we have a trust fund, and this is money that's left over. It's left over in an operational account, and it's used for special projects or it's used for purchasing vehicles. It's not meant to be a rainy day fund. And I know that the finance committee helped illustrate that point in our last meeting, but just want to ground us in that again, that this money has been spent for special projects or when vehicles needed, or when we need a new hazmat vehicle. It's not set up to be a reserve fund like most of our jurisdictions would have or county departments have, where we have some money that's set aside for when we have a downturn or we have a rainy day. It's set up to be different money. And then the last thing I want to touch on briefly are vehicle replacement funds. Oftentimes jurisdictions will set aside a portion of money that they're collecting annually that they're going to use to replace equipment. There hadn't been one for this equipment for a while. And so 2 years ago, we started setting aside $150,000 to do that, but it's not an actual separate fund. It's set up as a line item that's contained within our trust fund. And so that's growing at $150,000 annually. What we came up with is there's essentially 3 options for purchase. We can prepay up front, we can do a partial payment and get some level of discount, or we can pay upon completion. Pay up front really is off the table. We don't have sufficient funds at this time to pay for the entire thing. So we're really only left with two options. Option A is a partial prepayment. And the real takeaway from this is that we can save about $135,000 if we give a chunk of money up front and then we pay the rest upon delivery. Or we can wait and we can pay all when it's done and take it on delivery. That'll cost us about $135,000 more, but that does allow us to keep that money in the trust fund and have some capital liquidity with that. This slide breaks down the 5 options that are available to us. I'll go through the two in a little bit more detail for a prepayment and a partial prepayment, or partial prepayment and a post payment. But really what we were trying to understand is what is the best combination of drawing down the trust fund, keeping the annual cost that jurisdictions have to pay as low as possible, limiting the funding gap between what we have and what we need to make up, and ultimately try to get to a point where we're spending as little amount on this as possible. So what we realized for a partial payment upfront, that will save us $135,000. We're going to have a funding gap of about $352,000 that we'll have to make up for when it is completed. That'll result in an $88,000 annual increase to each jurisdiction, which comes out to about a 2.7 increase to the total amount that you paid. This will result in dropping the trust fund down to $50,000 for that 1 year, but as we build it back up with that $150,000, we expect that to be replenished. The other option is to pay when it has been fully completed. If we do that, we have a larger funding gap. We see that it's $487,000. We see an annual increase of $122,000. And that goes from 2.7 to 3.7 as an annual increase. And that is drawing the trust fund again down to $50,000. What sets these two apart is that we can save $135,000 with this option, or we can make a decision to stay a little bit more liquid in what we're keeping in the trust fund. So these really are the two options and what seems to make the most sense from a fiscal standpoint. I understand we had a lot of discussion about this last time and there may be more about it and more questions. So I want to invite Director Podkar to also come up and move through those now.
Can I ask real quick?
Yes.
Does any member of the board actually need us to keep going through this? No? Are there any questions? Because I'd rather not waste our time with presentation we don't need. No? All right, then we'll go ahead and stop the presentation. Does anyone have any questions? No? Can I have a motion?
Which option?
I motion to option A.
I'll second.
that.
All right, so let's go ahead and move to roll call vote.
Appleton. On A, yes. Belmont. Aye. Aye. A. Brisbane.
Yes.
Burlingame.
Yes.
Colma.
Yes.
Daly City. Aye. Foster City.
Yes.
Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Connie Hillsborough.
Yes.
Millbrae.
Yes, but a quick question. Do we have to take public comment on this before voting? Just asking for clarity.
We have our attorney on, we can defer. Flannery, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do if you do have anybody wanting to give public comment.
Is there anyone who wants to give public comment on this item?
None in the room and none online.
All right, proceed with the vote.
Yes. Okay. So we are remote on Pacific after the vote.
Yes.
Portola Valley,
Yes.
Redwood City,
Yes.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Carlos,
I'm staying.
South San Francisco. Yes. Woodside. Yes. County San Mateo.
Yes.
That was easy.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to item 6.
Good evening, members of the council, emergency management colleagues. My name is Chris McCall and I'm an emergency management coordinator at San Mateo County Emergency Management. I'm leading initiative right now on evacuation planning alert warning, as well as severe winter storm readiness. Now, typically, we plan for winter storms in October. However, given El Nino in the headlines and questions we've been getting, questions you've likely been getting from the residents, we wanted to talk about where we currently stand as we head into the winter season. So as a real quick primer, we have La Nina and El Nino. Really, when it comes to what's important for our winter storms is where the storm track goes. Typically for La Nina, the storm track shifts north of us. For El Nino, typically shifts south of us to Southern California. However, there is also the potential for the storm track to shift north at times, which can mean flooding to our area as well as coastal flooding. Now, major storms have hit San Mateo County in El Nino years, La Nina years where neither were present. So it's San Mateo County's responsibility and our outlook to make sure that we are prepared for whatever winter may bring, no matter whether or not El Nino conditions are present. Now looking historically, again, last time we had severe winter storms was back in late 2022 to early 2023. And during a 3-week period of 6 back-to-back storms, caused widespread flooding, damage in a lot of parts of the county, power outages, and all this happened within a La Nina year. So this is something that can be present whether we have La Nina, El Nino, or again anything that are neither. Now, I want to talk a little bit about severe winter storm planning, as well as how we approach any hazard that San Mateo County could face. We have a framework that's blue skies, gray skies, or dark skies. Blue skies, that's our routine monitoring. That's what we're doing today, monitoring the different El Nino updates from the U.S. Climate Prediction Center. We have gray skies, that's when something's on the horizon, where we have elevated monitoring, and that's when we're starting coordination calls with each of your cities and towns to make sure that they have the most up-to-date information. Then we have dark skies. That's when we're talking a full EOC activation. And also when we are looking at different public alerting to make sure the public is aware of what protective actions they need to take. Now looking at what the current El Nino forecast is, as of the latest update earlier this month, looks like we have an 81% chance of a very strong El Nino from October to December of this year. And then a 97% chance that those conditions persist through spring of 2027. What this likely means for us here in San Mateo County is that there is a lean towards above normal rainfall. Again, above normal can mean anything from a genuinely wet winter to just slightly above average. Either way, we're making sure that we have heightened monitoring to make sure that we are prepared for whatever comes our way. Now, thinking about basically the El Nino advisory that we currently have, looking at historical patterns, where do we currently stand? So again, El Nino's connection to winter rain is stronger in Southern California. However, it still does trend a little bit wetter here in San Mateo County. Past El Nino winters have ranged from significantly above normal to slightly below normal to even near normal. And then also this far out, storm timing, the track, the intensity is a little bit unknown this far out. So thinking a lot of what I talked about right now is what the county is doing and what we're doing to monitor. But again, members of the council, your leaders in your cities, you have connections to different departments and also a direct line to your residents. So what are different ways that you can talk to your cities, towns, residents to make sure that we're actively addressing what the winter could bring. So first, for basic personal mitigation, talking about clearing drains and gutters, requiring sandbags for properties that routinely flood, and also checking drainage on your property. When it comes to what cities and towns can do, start planning with your interagency partners, having those discussions, identifying some of these flood-prone areas, as well as sharing preparedness actions with different members of the community. Lastly, again, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, but SMC alert, that's something that your residents can sign up for, and that means they can receive information in any type of hazard, whether it's El Nino, wildfire, earthquake, and having that makes us a lot more prepared as a county. Any different readiness actions beyond this would require continued investment. So bottom line, San Mateo County Emergency Management is taking this seriously. We do have heightened monitoring. What we're going to do as we get closer to the winter season is bring in experts at the next ESC meeting for you to be able to hear directly from them
what the potential impacts could be this winter, and also give you further updates as to our preparedness posture. So thank you, and I'll leave it open to any questions.
Okay, are there any questions? Yes, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. This is much to talk about in terms of El Nino. What is DEM or Department of Emergency Service working with the cities in terms of it just, I understand the sign up with the SMC alert, but more than that, what do you do with the cities? You know, I think that would be something that are there coordinated messaging going out to the public so that we understand what to look for, how to prepare?
So every year, we start this process later in the year. And it's a very similar process. We bring experts in to talk about what the weather forecast looks for the entire season. At that same call, we talk about coordination. And we talk about what the cities, each of the cities are doing, whether, you know, and there's specific areas that they're really concerned about, like certain culverts, certain creeks, things like that. So we have this huge coordination call first. And then the cities also talk about what preparedness activities they're doing in addition, such as getting sandbags. We also send out, we have a toolkit that we send out that's like a social media toolkit and a campaign for residents that we put out. And usually that goes out during National Preparedness Month, which is September. That's when we put those out. If you do it too early, people don't pay attention. So you have to do it right before, where they're paying attention to something. So that's something that does happen. And then right before we monitor the storms that are coming in, and right before a storm, we will send information out that basically says, you know, it's an atmospheric river 1, 2, 3. Is this a beneficial atmospheric river versus a non-beneficial or a hazardous? And really go through what the consequences are. If it is a high enough consequence, we will actually do another coordination call, basically asking the cities, how are you staffing up to deal with the challenges of this storm? That includes a lot of times, you know, how are you taking care of any unmet needs? Do you feel like you may have unmet needs? So those are the types of things that we do. And the cities generally share the messaging with their communities as well.
Any other questions? Yes.
So, for One Shoreline, they have helped cities install along the creek beds the early flooding warning system. So to what extent do you coordinate with them, or do you have accessibility to those information so you can help propagate the messagings and out there?
So we look at that data every day. We look at that data every day, and then you have the data, the number of what the creek is at 1.6, and then we have the action that we need to take an action, and it specifically says what that number is. That happens every day. So we're not looking at one certain trend over time. And so we're looking at that every day, whether it is during storm season or not.
Okay, last question. I know that you know what with the wildfire, we now learn the red flag dates, like the yellow, the green, the yellow, the red. I just noticed that the presentation you have the blue, the gray, the dark. Is that something that is the public messaging that you will be seeing the weatherman using those terminologies to help us understand and become aware of what's happening and anticipate that we need to prepare for sandbags or accordingly or whatnot?
We actually use the blue skies, gray skies, and dark skies as operational stature for us. Like, what posture are we taking that is internal to us? It is not a public facing posture.
Christine Bowles.
Oh, Christine.
Yeah. Hi. For those of us on the coast, beyond flooding, what I'm hearing is the warmer oceans mean that the water is actually expanding, and we're anticipating, a foot of sea level rise. And what we're seeing in the last few winters are just really much stronger storms and wave energy. I think from some of the long period waves traveling, from Asia. And it's just causing a lot more flooding than in previous years. The other issue from like Pacifica down to the mid coast is that we have bluffs that are, pretty much friable sand in terms of their geology. And what I've done research in Pacifica back to, the El Ninos of 82, 83, but also, 96, 2015, 16, 1998. And those are years that we get episodic bluff erosion. So in one part, we've lost, 40 feet horizontally of bluff overnight, and then 90 feet in one winter. So we could be, if it's really going to be a wet winter, and then the wave action is hitting the bottom of of these bluffs stronger, we could be looking at major catastrophes, along those sections of the coast. I don't know what we as cities are doing and how much we can prepare. I know there's the process of yellow and red tagging buildings, and we've certainly lost our share of homes and apartment buildings already in Pacifica. Anyway, I would love to hear more about that and how we can better prepare without terrifying our residents who live in these areas unnecessarily. Oh, and the other thing, sorry, just one more thing I wanted to mention. When our pier collapsed recently, I went up with our city manager, Sean Charpentier, to the governor's office and spoke with their emergency manager at the state level. And they did say that there were additional resources already being deployed in Southern California in terms of flood control, K-rails, things like that. So I think they're seeing, at least so far, the weather predictions were that there's going to be more water in Southern California, but I just wanted to make sure we knew that those resources are there if we're getting more data that shows that it's going to be a wetter winter here in our area as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the answer I would say to that is we don't really know at this time. We are convening as many experts as we can. Right now, it's really processed off model data, and it's not, there are increased sea surface temperatures for sure, but really what we're looking at is projections and modeling of increase. This exceeds the ability for us to explain it or understand it. So we want to bring people in that can help answer some of these questions. And that's what we're looking to do in that October meeting. Traditionally, we would expect that the rainfall would be December through March. That still allows for plenty of lead time, but we're working actively to understand what this means and being able to connect and coordinate with people to be able to do that. To the state resources, I will say that we are actively always meeting and coordinating with the region through Cal OES and making sure that we have good and strong connections, and that if we need to request resources to assist response, that we're able to do that. Training with our coordinators, understanding what that process is so that we can help and support should an event exceed the abilities of a jurisdiction or the county.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mayor.
In Portola Valley, we've been focusing so hard on wildfire and earthquake for so long. It suddenly has occurred to us that we're sitting on a bunch of culverts that are all 40 years old or 50 years old and all made out of metal, and none of them can need to be, and everything needs to be fixed before this winter, and we have no money. So I'm just wondering, I think we're about to generate something to try and at least do an assessment of our culvert situation, because we don't even know how bad it is, but we know that they are actively collapsing underneath our streets right now, even without an event. I'm wondering if you have some suggestions for how we can finance this endeavor to meet this challenge before it happens. I mean, the emergency preparedness is a big priority.
I think I'll get that to Shruti.
All finance questions come to me. I think we are in a world where we don't have the monies that we usually could through the hazard mitigation grant or, even the brick grant. It has opened up, but it's not as open as it used to be. That would be my first suggestion. It is not the best suggestion. Given where we are, maybe in a few years that may change. The other ways to finance, I think we do what we usually do is special assessment taxes, but like this is one time. And I would actually invite the group, but I don't think your situation is unique.
No.
And I think we are actually bringing in all the water districts next week here to have conversations and start thinking about long-term planning with them. Because this is not unique to just Portola Valley. So I invite others to share their experiences.
Look at me. So I actually have some questions. So, Anthea, it's good you mentioned that you're bringing the water companies. I just want to make sure that when they come, that there's an assessment of the dams that we have in the county. So I know that at least 2 of them are not in good shape. And with the storm system that we have coming, I want to make sure that there's an assessment of just how bad they might be in terms of their spillover. When you were talking about culverts, Mary, one of the things that I was already thinking about was back in 2023, and it was so again, this is coordination amongst all these different agencies. But in 2023, the culvert spilled up with debris. It hadn't been cleared out for a long time. So making sure that we've done an assessment of those culverts to make sure there isn't debris in them, because a lot of that last time was we had good culverts, but they didn't work because they were clogged up like drains. And I know this is silly, but it's nuts and bolts. We ran out of sandbags last time. And so I don't know how we go ahead and make sure that, and there's going to be a run on it. If this really hits the way they're talking about it, there's going to be a run on it. So to make sure that we have our sandbags and our sand. Yeah, Nicholas?
Supervisor, we have actually, we're working with DEM to put in our order right now. So we have sandbags in stock. And instead of the usual 60,000, we bumped it to 75,000. So we are going to be
great,
better prepared on that front than we have in the past, just in anticipation for the events that we are talking about.
Okay. And then telling our cellular companies now, we expect the portable cell towers to be ready.
So I will include that in all my future conversations with AT&T and friends.
Okay. Anything else anyone wants to add?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yes.
So Chair, in regards to the sand, so is that for all cities to tap into, or is that just the county's allotment of sand?
I don't know the answer to that question.
So we get sand for mostly the county. In the past, if we've had sandbags, we have given it to many of you, including Portola Valley, in like last year's storms, for example. So the way standardized emergency management system works is that there's one of the hats I wear is this is an op area. The entire county is an operational area, which is different than the county and the unincorporated area. So when we're planning, we're usually planning for the unincorporated area. The 75K is for the unincorporated area. But if there's an emergency, we are able to ask the CEO to take a few. Every city should be getting their own sand and sandbags.
All right, does it make sense for the county to help coordinate that effort to get a better price on the sand because you're buying in a greater bulk, and some cities might not be as prudent in getting their orders in on time. So having the county putting the pressure on every city to do so might be helpful. Instead of just you're on your own. I mean, that's why we're here, right? Is to help coordinate a countywide effort.
Absolutely, we can definitely talk to the emergency managers and the city manager.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments for staff? Any public comment on this item? Thank you. No problem, that was a little rusty, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, with that, we have a report outs related to the Emergency Services Council.
Mayor, if I could just ask a quick question, I obviously very supportive of a new hazmat vehicle, but I just want to understand what we did tonight. Since we did approve this with a funding gap, did we with that action approve the 2.7% increase in assessment?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
And that's the same, that's a percent of the, do we all pay the same amount? That's the question. I keep asking.
It's based on your.
Sure, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, so right now, the entire Emergency Services Council puts in 150K for the vehicle replacement. The assessment will go up by 88K for the entire emergency services. So you individually are not paying 88K. We collectively are paying 88K extra. And it is the county will pay about 50% of that because the county is 50%. And then everyone just pays a portion based on your population and tax roll data.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other report outs? Any other questions? Any public comment on this item? None. Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah, thank you.